Hello and welcome, everybody, to a special edition of Phillies Unfiltered. We're really not going to talk about the Phillies today, are we, Brent?
No, we are not. It's very special today.
All right. So we were throwing out some ideas of things we could potentially do, and off week, so to speak, or times where we're a little slow. So we thought about our all-time favorite lineups. I'm more of a modern guy. Brent is going to be more of a classic guy, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Uh,
a little mixed,
And
yeah.
in light of that, I know Brent's going to have his stats ready. So he's got numbers, and you know what? I thought I'd bring that to the table too. So I wrote down some stats today. So what we're going to have is a left-handed pitcher, a right-handed pitcher, a closing pitcher, catcher, first baseman, second baseman, third baseman, shortstop, left field, center field, right field. I'm looking forward to seeing what Brent has and where we can potentially mix and match. I'm assuming we're going to have some similar guys, and I'm assuming we're going to have several non-similar. So I'm going to throw it to Brent first. First, how you doing today?
Doing good. I have the
Uh,
day off today. This is a great way to spend my day
awesome.
off.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. This is you know what? Same. First, we're going to start with a left-handed pitcher. Uh, I wonder if you're matching with mine. Let's see what you got.
So my left-handed pitcher is Randy Johnson.
All right.
That was one of my more modern ones. As you said, I really spanned my team from the mid 20th century through today, essentially. But Randy Johnson was one of my more modern ones. I mean, every time I watched him, he was just so dominant. I mean, growing up, I mean, I couldn't imagine facing him with that frame of his, and I mean, he had the nickname the Big Unit. I
Yeah.
mean, he had that fastball, that nasty slider. Some numbers he won 303 games in his career, which is super impressive. 3.29 ERA. 4,875 strikeouts. That man struck a lot of batters out in his career. 10 All Star appearances, 5 Cy Young winnings, one perfect game, one no hitter. I mean, he was fantastic. I mean, and baseball's been around for so long; it's hard to pick one guy for all of these.
Yeah.
But that's the challenge
Right.
we've put in front of ourselves. But it's almost. I was looking. It was founded in the mid 1800s. I mean, we're starting to get close to 200 years of history in the sport. So it's a lot of players, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy Johnson. There were a few others that I considered, but I was like, yeah, you know what? I like him. I think he was at the top of the league pretty much the entire time he was there. Maybe toward the end,
Yeah.
obviously he fizzled out, but
Right.
during the '90s, early 2000s, he was just money. So yeah, that's my lefty.
Uh, yeah, so you could throw out some other names, like your Steve Carltons, your Sandy Koufaxes,
I thought
uh,
about
but
Sandy Koufax. Yeah,
but but little did you know, we did not discuss this beforehand of who we had. I agree. I had Randy Johnson too, just completely unhittable at times. I did have 303 strikeouts, 3.29 career ERA, 5 Cy Youngs. I'm sorry, 303 wins, so 4,875 strikeouts.
yep.
Like those numbers are ridiculous.
Hmm.
The nickname, the Big Unit, was perfect for him. The dude was almost 7 foot tall. He
I
was a
know.
monster on the mound. Like he's finishing his stride and he is at you. I think that
Yeah.
ball is coming in even faster than the high 90s that he was throwing, and he had some nasty off speed stuff with that slider.
Off speed meaning like a
Uh,
92 mile an hour
yeah,
slider,
a
but
92 mile an hour slider off speed for him. And like,
yeah,
you're expecting that fastball to come right at you that
right.
probably looks like 100 out of his hand. And then he's throwing something that's hitting the outside corner of the plate to a lefty or tailing in to a righty
Right.
like that. He unstoppable for a modern for this is be a modern pitcher for us. This is our heyday, and
Yeah.
I have to go with Randy Johnson as well. So I'm going to take over and give you my right-handed pitcher.
Let's
We
have it.
may match here. We may match here too.
I
I have a
doubt it.
feeling.
I kind of doubt it, but we'll see.
Pedro.
I considered him, but no, I didn't. So go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
Pedro, 2.93 career ERA, 3 Cy Young Awards, 3,154 strikeouts, and we're talking about a guy who, in the prime of the steroid era, had over 3,000 strikeouts and ERA under 3. This guy is
Yeah.
and was incredible.
Yeah.
And he's great to listen to. If you ever listen to him talk about pitching, it's great. You can see how how his change ups and like how his fingers are a little bit more flexible than others, so he can put a little bit more spin on the ball. I mean, watching him with the Red Sox, watching him with the Expos, watching him even that one year with the Phils. He's just like the
Yeah,
guy just knew how to
he was
pitch.
he was good that year with us. I mean, I mean, he kind of ran out of steam, I think, in the playoffs, but he got us there. I mean, he did great when we got him on the at the deadline.
He came up. He was with us, and he didn't start really start until August. But he was incredible, and he's every bit deserving, in my opinion, of an all-time spot in the
Yeah.
rotation. What do you have?
So this one's a little bit of an older one. I went with
Okay,
Bob Gibson.
all right, that's solid.
251 wins, 2.91 ERA, 3,117 strikeouts in his career. He won the NL MVP once, which for a pitcher, I mean, back then maybe it was more common, but you don't see that too often today. It's almost always an offensive player, and the Cy obviously is what you view the most valuable pitcher as. I think that's kind of how that usually works. But he won two Cy Young awards. He threw a no hitter, nine Gold Gloves, and nine All Star appearances.
Very nice.
Yeah, I kind of, I've seen clips of him over time, and I am a bit of a historian when it comes to baseball. So, I did think about Pedro though. There were a few guys that I kicked around, but putting on here, but I felt good about going with him. I mean, I think he was also during an era when black players were still finding their way in baseball, right? And I think that's something that also went into my decision. I think he was obviously the circumstances were a little different for him than they are for players nowadays in that regard. And to do what he did during that time was very impressive. So so Bob Gibson is my right-handed pitcher.
Well, that's very that's excellent. You know, it was with the Cardinals for a
Yep.
long time, and he was a great pitcher. He has some great stuff, and that's a very good choice. I like that.
Yep. So what
Uh,
one do you want me to start to go now to? What are we going to?
we're on pitchers. You're going to closer.
All right.
Who's finishing this game for you?
So I I didn't go with the obvious choice, which
Really?
yeah, and I'm not going to say what that is because
I did. I did.
I think you probably did, and that's probably why I did this. But I went with Trevor Hoffman.
All right. So the next guy up.
So the reason I did is, I'll just say what he had. He had 601 saves in his career, which is very impressive. 1,133 strikeouts. His ERA was sub 3. It was 2.87. 7 All-Star appearances. But the reason I went with him is because he played on a less prolific team than the guy that I assume you picked for most of his
Yeah.
career. And I think that factored in for me because, it's hard when your team's not always leading. Like the fact that he got that many opportunities. I mean, the Padres had some good years when he was there, but
Yeah.
not the amount. I mean, the guy I assumed you picked probably. I mean, he was on a winning team every year, so the opportunities to save games were there, and there's. I'm not taking anything away from him, but yeah, I went with Trevor. I always liked him growing up. He had that nasty
Yeah.
changeup, which is funny for a
Right.
closer because you think of a fireballer, but that changeup just disappeared, and I remember it was impossible for I know when the Phillies played him, they could not touch him. So yeah, Trevor Hoffman is my bullpen guy, my closer on this list.
I think that's a great choice, and I would have mentioned that changeup as well. And like you wouldn't expect that out of a closer, that
Right.
being his out pitch. His primary pitch was that changeup. And I went with the obvious with Mariano Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
The
That's what I thought.
2.21 career ERA, 13-time All Star, 652 saves. Not to mention the ridiculous just play
The
every time he
cutter.
was in the playoffs. The cutter and playoff Mariano Rivera was probably better than regular season
Yeah.
Mariano Rivera. Like that cutter, he's breaking bats. And that's all he needed to throw. He literally did not throw anything else.
And
He threw the cutter, and he was getting outs.
the best part of that was you knew it was coming and you still
You
couldn't hit
did,
it. Like
and
they prepared to hit the cutter because he threw it the vast majority of the time. But even though you knew it was coming, you still couldn't do anything with it, and that is impressive. That tells you a lot
which
about him.
which tells me how elite that
Yeah.
cutter was. Like that, probably possibly the best ever.
Yeah.
as far as the cut fastball, and he was unhittable, and he was great. I can't choose anybody else. Trevor Hoffman would be a second, but he's not close for me. I think he's a solid second choice. Um, it's just given the clutch and doing it when he needed to, and you know Luis Gonzalez got to him once. That's
Yeah.
it, and it wasn't
Yeah.
even that hard of a hit ball.
No, it was a
You
bloop
know,
single. It
so,
was a bloop into basically
um,
deep
um,
second base. Like,
right, exactly. So our pitchers are wound up here. Let's see what I did. Um, so we had some good ones. I am looking forward to the position players now. So I'm going to start with my favorite catcher of all time is Ivan Rodriguez.
I knew you were going to go
Cool,
with him. I knew you were.
cool nickname, Pudge. He did get that World Series ring with the Marlins, then
Yep.
Florida Marlins. He had over 2,800 hits, 311 home runs, which is a lot for a catcher.
Yeah.
Uh, this is what stands out to me. Defensive for a catcher is huge. 13 Gold Gloves and even seven Silver Sluggers. Like the guy could hit, the
Hmm.
guy could field, and he had one of the coolest moments I can remember in baseball history when he's getting plowed into in 2003 with the Marlins, and he's just holding the ball up,
Yeah.
and showing it to the crowd and showing it to everybody, and he was ecstatic. And I mean, I loved watching the guy play, and he could throw out a guy like it was nothing.
He was one of the
I
best
mean,
throwing catchers of all
yeah,
time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That his I don't know what his pop time was. I'm sure it would be amongst the elite now.
It wasn't even just the throwing him out at second base or third base on the steal. It was the
Everything.
pickoff. He picked a lot
Yeah.
of guys off at first base or
He's,
second base behind him.
it may have been obvious for me. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
So I went a little different direction here because I agree. Pudge is, for my money, he's the best defensive catcher of all time. He was incredible, and he could hit. He was a good hitter. He was a great defender.
Yeah,
I went with a local guy, Mike
I
Piazza,
figured that too. All
and the
right.
reason is because he was arguably the best power hitting catcher ever. He had a 308 average though, so it wasn't just like feast or famine. He could hit, like he hit for contact too. He had 2,127 hits. Um, he had 427 homers and 1,335 RBIs.
Right.
And I would argue he was the best opposite field power hitter that I ever saw play. He hit a lot of home runs to right and right center field that went way out, especially during his time with like the Mets. He really peppered that center field to right field area of the field, of the outfield. So I always enjoyed watching him play. He was a decent catcher. He wasn't a bad defender. He just, you had guys like Pudge in the league. He wasn't winning Gold Gloves,
Right.
but no, he was a good player. I always enjoyed watching him, and it was always cool knowing he was from the Philly area too. I always
Yeah.
liked that.
Norristown, I believe it
Yeah,
was,
I
and then
believe so. Or Phoenixville. Was it
him.
Phoenixville? Maybe
I think
something like
it
that.
was somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
But him being a Met hurts his chances with me.
Okay, well, I
But
threw that out the window. I mean, and I didn't hate the Mets as much back then as I do
oh,
now. So
yeah, right. But I mean, he had a violent swing,
yeah,
and like reminiscent of of Bryce, for example, like how violent it was, and it was almost effortless.
Piazza had like an older, more of an old school swing. Like
Uppercut,
but you see clips of like the Phillies from the 70s and 80s, like those teams. He had like an old school swing. It was very different from the swings you see nowadays. For the most part, it was very
Mm,
tight. And he was pretty quick to it, quick to the ball.
it was
Um,
powerful.
he was a strong guy. Or I'm sure he still is a strong guy. He's not dead, but
Right, right.
but yeah, that's mine. I knew you were going to go with Pudge, and I probably would have considered it too. But I figured, I'd like to make sure we have some
Kind of
differences here,
good going
and
against the grain a little
a
bit.
little bit, and again, I kind of went more offense on this, right? I mean, I
Okay,
agree with
me
you because
too.
I think defensive for a catcher is important. And Mike was serviceable as a defender. Pudge was elite. There's no getting around that. He was an incredible defender. But Piazza was taking outside of just even a catcher, just as a pure power hitter, regardless of position. He was one of the top power hitters in his time in the league. So yeah.
Okay.
So are we moving on to first
We're
base?
I'm going in position order if you haven't noticed. So next is first base.
All right. Well, this one is a more modern guy, and it's possible we may have crossover here. I don't know.
Okay,
I went with
we probably
Albert
do.
Pujols.
All right.
296 career average, 3,384 career hits, 703 homers, which is not anything to sneeze at. And then 2,218 career RBIs.
That's a
Um,
lot.
I loved watching this guy play, especially early in his career. He was one of my
Yeah.
favorite hitters to watch. That stance where there was just no motion at all, other than his arms going back and forward. His legs he had that wide stance. Um, and he hit for contact and power. I mean, he was a dangerous hitter. You remember the baseball or the video games back then? His zone was
Yeah.
always red all around. You had nowhere to pitch
Absolutely.
against him. So no, he was such a fun hitter to watch, and he was a good guy by all accounts too. I think teammates really
Yeah.
liked playing with him. Coaches really liked him. So yeah, Albert Pujols. I had to put him there. Just insane skill as a hitter.
Not not to not to mention three MVPs and two Gold Gloves. So
Yes.
he wasn't a slouch at first base. And if I have those stats, you know what that means, right? He's
I was going to say, it sounds like you already.
I mean, watching him hit was an absolute treat. And then I mentioned it with Pedro, listening to him talk about hitting is something special too. I mean, like how he approached it, like taking the bat knob to the ball
Yep.
and just a little flick of the wrist, and he didn't take a big stride. He was like a toe tap, like a
Yep.
little
It was just
tiny,
a
like almost
timing
like a
thing. It wasn't
yeah.
even
It
a
was
move. It was just a
and
timing thing. Yep.
and it was perfect. The home run he hit in the playoffs against Brad Lidge when Lidge was at the Astros,
Hmm.
uh,
He crushed
over the
that.
train tracks.
Yeah, he
Like the
crushed
thing
that.
still hasn't landed, right?
Yeah.
And then I had the pleasure of going to see Albert Pujols against the Phillies opening day of 2006. He hit two home runs,
Wow.
and
I
like
never saw him live. Never saw him.
yeah, and I mean it was amazing. Like I mean, in at the moment, I hated watching the Phillies lose, but
Right.
like I mean, he was a big part of that Cardinals team and the reason why they won a handful of World Series. Um, it's a shame he went to the Angels and didn't do as well as he
No, he
was.
kept padding
His
stats, but yeah, he
yeah,
wasn't really propelling the team by
like
that point.
like
Yeah.
like he was with the Cardinals.
Right.
But with 703 home runs, how can you go with anybody else?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, and so good choice. I like it. I of course agree. I'm going a little bit off with the second baseman here.
Okay.
Spent a majority with the Reds. I'm going with Joe Morgan.
Good call. That's a good one, man.
Uh, uh, all the All Star appearances. He even had two MVPs, which I didn't realize. 689 stolen bases and 981 fielding percentage.
Oh man.
That's stellar for a second baseman. Hence all the Gold Gloves and 2,517 hits for a second baseman. I'm taking that every day.
Yeah.
I had some toss ups. I was thinking about Jackie Robinson, who had a great impact on the game, obviously. Roberto Alomar, even Craig Biggio, who I was a big fan of, but Joe Morgan did what I like. He hit, he fielded. For a
Yeah.
second baseman, that's what I need.
Yeah, I mean that fielding percentage is I mean we've talked on our regular podcast episodes about Trey and the defense and all that, and that's
Yeah.
an insane fielding percentage. I mean
So,
that's for a whole career and like you said at a position as high volume as second base where you're getting the ball hit to you a lot, that's really impressive.
yeah, and then like as far as Phillies go, this is my second former Philly because he did have a little bit of time with the
Yes,
Phillies.
yeah, he made his name
Um,
with the Reds, but yes, he was a Philly
he
at
did.
one
You
point.
know, yes, absolutely, and what a great announcer he was.
Oh my God, him
With,
and
with
John Miller, what
John
a
Miller.
pair! What
Yeah,
a pair!
that was epic on ESPN. I miss those days, and rest in peace, Joe Morgan.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So for second base, I'm bringing in a very special guest to to help me out. And
Sweet.
Calder is here. So Calder,
Hey, Calder.
who do we have for second base?
Jackie Robinson is the second base.
Oh, perfect. It's a
All
great
right.
choice.
So that's for second base, yes. And so Jackie Robinson had shorter career, obviously in the major leagues. I think it was 9 seasons, maybe something like that.
Mhm.
um, but he had a 313 batting average, 1,563 hits, 141 homers, 761 RBIs, 200 stolen bases. Um, and, you know, outside of all the social stuff that he encountered, which we're all pretty aware of, I think at this point, he was just a tremendous athlete.
Absolutely.
He excelled in several sports. So um, he's just the type of guy you would love to have on your team because he could change the game with his skill, his athletic talents. And so, yeah, I would definitely, I'd love the idea of having him in my middle infield, right?
Yeah,
He had a great glove. He got
absolutely.
to a lot of balls
Yeah.
on the ground, in the air. So yeah, Jackie Robinson is my second baseman.
Th- Thanks, Calder, for giving us an absolute legend. So that brings us to third base. So what do we have for third?
I'm going with a guy who I don't. He's not my favorite person, but
I think I know where you're going.
I got to go with Mike Schmidt.
Okay.
Between the glove and the offense, he was top notch at this position historically. Now his batting average wasn't super high; he was 267, but he had 2,234 hits, 548 home runs, 1,595 RBIs. He had 12 All Star appearances and 10 Gold Gloves.
Yep.
So again, I don't love him in the booth during games for the for the
Neither
broadcast.
do I.
I've always found him to be a little cocky, a little arrogant, but I'm looking at the numbers, looking at the totality of it. The guy was a king at the position historically. So
Yeah.
so that's my third baseman.
Yeah. I mean, did you mention the three MVPs?
I don't think
Um,
I did actually. So no, yeah, you had
so,
that
so,
on. Yeah.
so I'm adding that on. He's my third
I
baseman.
was
Actually,
gathering that when you
yeah,
tip your hand,
yeah,
Jim, when you
yeah,
when you say the numbers that I forget.
yeah. I do a little bit. I actually thought about other guys um, for this spot, but you really can't look past Michael Jack Schmidt.
That's what I did too. I
Uh,
looked at other
I mean,
guys too, and I'm like, I
I
can't, I can't not
I
give it to him.
strong I strongly considered Chipper,
Me
but
too.
Chipper's defense
No,
wasn't as superb
he was a good defender,
as
but he didn't win as
yeah. I
many
mean, but
Gold Gloves, and there were other
he
third
wasn't
basemen like Scotty Rowland who were better defenders than him during that
ex-
time.
exactly. Chipper hit from both sides of the plate and
Yeah,
hit a lot of home runs, and he hit very well from both sides. But
Chipper might have
Mike
been
Schmidt had,
Chipper might have been one of the best switch hitters. He was one of the best switch hitters of all
oh,
time. I mean,
if not the best.
he didn't have a weak side. Like some guy, sometimes it's like, oh,
Yeah,
we want to turn him around. You didn't have an advantage turning him on one side or the other. He was
no,
equally
no,
dangerous from both sides of the
and
plate.
that's an all time Philly killer if we ever do something like that.
Yes.
Uh, absolutely, I have to agree with Michael Jack Schmidt as the third baseman.
Yeah.
Personality aside, he's my third baseman as well.
There you go.
Uh, so I'm curious where you're going to go with shortstop, but I'm taking over now.
Okay.
My shortstop had 3,100 hits, so 3,115, 696 home runs, um, 14 All Star appearances, a handful of MVPs, 2,086 RBIs. I'm going with Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I mean, I know he played a lot of third base, but he came up as a shortstop with the Seattle Mariners, which is why I'm picking him as a shortstop. He was fantastic from the jump. He should have won a World Series with the Mariners, but they didn't. And well, I think that was strike related, but he was outstanding. Steroids aside, too, everybody was doing them pretty much. And he was a monster at the dish, and what are you going to do to him? He can still run on you a little bit, but he's hitting the ball out everywhere. Uh, One of the worst home runs I've ever seen against the Phillies, though, hitting the camera or whatever it was. But he's an all-time great, and I can't look past that whether or not he was on steroids.
Yeah. No. I mean, he was good. I think we may differ on the steroid thing, but he was a good
Okay.
player. I mean, he especially with the Mariners, I liked him back then too, especially. But um, So for me, I went with Ozzie Smith. So not so much on the
Okay.
offensive side, but as you know, defense is important to me, especially at shortstop. And I mean,
Yeah.
Ozzie was a good hitter. I mean, that wasn't his strength, but he wasn't a liability as a hitter. Basically, he was 262 career hitter, had 2,460 career hits, 15-time All Star, 13-time Gold Glover. The man earned the nickname the Wizard because he was magical at that position. If you go back and look at clips, for those of you who haven't seen him, maybe some of our younger listeners, that man just made incredible plays.
Mhm.
He got
He
to
did.
everything that was even anywhere remotely around the position of shortstop. I loved watching him play back in the 90s. That's when I started watching baseball. So I caught more the end of his career, but he could still do it. Even the year he
Yeah.
retired, he was still super agile, had a great
Still
arm.
like it.
He did that backflip. He always, that was like his celebration thing. He was just a
Yeah.
really, really fun guy to watch play. So, um, that position, you want somebody there who's going to gobble everything up without concern. There's nobody better. Like you're never going to be able to
Yeah,
convince me
that's
there was
fair.
a better defensive shortstop. There might have been some that were on his level, you could argue, but nobody was better than him at
Or
fielding that position. So
you
Ozzie
could you
Smith.
could think you could think about your Barry Larkins, your Jimmy
Oh yeah,
Longs,
yeah,
and those areas, and even like defensive wise, Omar Vizquel was a magician too.
absolutely, yeah,
But Ozzie Smith is a fantastic choice. I mean, he had excellent speed, which helped him
yep,
get to every single ball and make those amazing plays.
yep.
Good choice.
Thank you. And then I guess now we're moving into right field,
Now I'm moving into left field, so
left
I'm
field.
going
All right,
in positional number
all
order.
right. That's actually what I have next anyway. I don't know why I jumped to
All
right.
right, we may agree here. Actually,
Well, we'll see. I went
we'll see.
old school on this, so
Okay. Okay. Oh no, then maybe never mind.
I went with another guy I'm not a big fan of personality wise, Ted Williams.
Okay.
344 career average. Come on, man. That's just crazy. 2,654 hits, 521 homers, uh, 1,839 RBIs, and his on base percentage for his career was 482.
Nice.
And he had that one magical, well, he had many magical seasons, but that one year in 1941, he hit 406 for the season. And that was a big thing back in that year that was being followed, in the press and everything, whether he was going to finish the season with 400 or better, and he did. The other thing about him that's really impressive is he took, I think, 2 or 3 years off to fight in World War II, then
Yeah.
came back and continued playing. So he lost basically 3 seasons to fighting in a war.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, not the nicest guy by all accounts, was a very kind of rough around the edges, kind of mean guy that I've from what I understand. But again, similar to Schmidt, who I don't think was mean, he was just cocky. Um, you can't ignore the numbers. Ted Williams was an all-time
Right.
great. And another little tidbit: my grandfather went on a fishing trip with him. Um,
That's amazing.
I don't know how it came to be. My dad told me this story, was in the Marines, and I mean, he was in World War II as well. My grandfather, so they may have met each other during their time serving in the armed forces, but they did. They went on a fishing trip at one point. My dad said, and so what do you know? It's just weird things that happen.
What do
But
you, and then still one of the cooler moments in baseball history was the 1999 All Star Game where he came out.
yes,
I think everybody crowded around him, all the players. So he was an amazing hitter, and that's a great choice. Not my choice. I had a couple options, but mine is very very close in that average to Ted Williams for the career, and I'm going with Tony Gwynn.
oh,
Uh,
wasn't he a right fielder?
he was a left, pretty sure he was a left
I
fielder.
think he was right. That's who I have for my right fielder.
Fine, that's what I have for my left fielder. I play either. We could just say outfilders for all we care. Then
Fine, that's
I'm
fine.
putting
You can
Tony.
switch
I'm
whoever
putting.
you have. Yeah, yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
putting Tony Gwynn. I'm putting Tony Gwynn in left field. Then.
Okay.
Now that's 3,100 hits, so 3,141, 338 batting average,
Yep.
15 All Stars, 8 batting titles. He averaged 209 hits a year. The guy could put
Yeah,
the ball anywhere,
he was
like
insane.
literally, and like he could literally just he could place it on a dime if he wanted to.
Batting champ eight
He,
times.
like, and he was hitting off elite pitching. Like
Yep.
you see his stats against like Maddox and Smoltz and
Maddox
Glavine,
talks
for
about
example.
him. Maddox
Right,
talks about how
and,
he was impossible to get out.
right, and what John Smoltz is the only one of those three guys who have struck him out once.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy, and like just like and he flirted with 400 a few times, and the dude was another guy that you could just listen to talking about hitting all day. You
Yeah.
can watch all these old clips of him talking about hitting, and it's it's something that you would cherish forever. Like it's remarkable the things he has to say, and it'll last forever.
Yeah.
That there's the coaching that he would give.
Yeah.
Um,
He was
so
incredible.
maybe I went off a little bit. I could have sworn he played left. I remember him in left field at some point. I know this, but but he
It's possible they moved him there at
outfield
the end of his
outfield
career, but
outfield is outfield. You can play. You can almost
that's
play.
true.
He's
Yeah.
in the corner. I mean, he had speed at one point when he was younger, and he could throw when he was younger. Uh,
He won 5 Gold Gloves.
yeah. So great job. Tony Gwynn was an amazing player, and another guy that was gone too soon. Getting the world.
Absolutely. That was
And
really sad. Yeah.
he would have made an amazing coach in
Mhm.
the major leagues.
Yeah.
Uh, so moving on to center field, we may agree unless you're
I'm
going a
sure
little
we
bit more
do.
old school.
I can't
Uh,
see us not.
the sweetest swing in the history of the
Yeah.
game, Ken Griffey Jr. 630 home runs, 13 All Stars, MVP he's just the guy could do it all. He was a five-tool athlete and
7 Silver Sluggers, 10 Gold Gloves. I mean,
great movie appearance.
yes,
You
Little
know,
Big
so,
League. Yeah. He
so,
was the
yeah,
villain in that, really, when you look
yeah,
at it.
right. You're right. And he made the catch at the end. Like, how can you choose anybody else? And if the guy didn't get hurt, he'd be our all-time home run leader.
I still claim he
Like,
would have had 800 home runs if he had not gotten hurt. No,
and
easily, he would have had
and
800. And he didn't
and
cheat doing it. He
again,
didn't take any
no,
steroids. He
no,
was
he was
skinny
he
as a
was
rail,
he
man.
was he was long and lanky the entire time. I mean, he got a little wide in the stomach later on in his
Yeah,
career,
but
but
that ain't
not that
steroids.
big.
That's just,
Right, that's just an extra burger or two.
yeah.
But like because once he signed with the Reds, he got hurt, and that never happened.
Yeah.
You're right. He'd probably be flirting with 800 home runs. He was one of the greatest all-time players ever,
Absolutely.
and another one of the coolest moments in the history of the game, going back to back with his dad. Like, what are the odds? Like, come on.
Yeah, that was an amazing moment.
Yeah,
That's really cool, and that was an
yeah,
earned
yeah.
moment, unlike LeBron bringing
Yeah,
his
LeBron and
kid into
Bronny.
the NBA, who really had
Yeah,
no business being in the
yeah, like,
NBA.
yeah,
Junior was better
yeah,
than his dad.
right. And his dad wasn't a slouch either. His dad
No,
was a
he was a
good
good
baseball
player.
player.
Junior was a great player. I mean,
Yeah, Junior's legendary. What else do you have to add about Griffey as your center fielder?
I mean, I think we kind of covered it. Yeah, he had a 284 average by the end of his career. A lot of that was due to his time with the Reds, because when he was with the Mariners, he was hitting 310, 300, 310, 315 easy every year. I think it started to dip a little bit with the Reds, but yeah, I mean, just stole base. He was like you said, 5-tool player. Stole bases, he hit, he could throw, had an incredible glove. He could do it all. And I don't. There's some great candidates. Willie Mays was a great center fielder. I mean, there were some guys. Jim
Mickey Mantle.
Edmonds was an amazing defensive center fielder, and he could hit too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
there were some good center fielders. Mickey Mantle, of course, yeah, but I could not leave Ken Griffey Jr. off
You
this
can't. You
list.
can't. I mean, he's the pinnacle of our youth. Like that.
Yeah,
Like, this is the guy. Like
he
who
was
didn't
he
try to
was the
emulate his
'90s.
swing at some point.
He was the '90s guy. Yes, absolutely.
Who's
I will say
everybody in the backyard?
I didn't try to emulate his swing, because I knew
I did.
that wasn't me, because I wasn't going to hit the ball that far. But I admired it, I guess, is how I could word
Right.
it.
Okay.
So
Right.
yeah, no, that's what I would add. Just
He
he just
only.
was the
Yeah.
best.
He always tried to hit line drives. He never tried to hit a home run, and his 630 home runs are happy accidents.
Sure,
The
yeah.
way the way he sees it. I mean, man, just incredible. All right, let's round this out.
I had one I just did for fun, a DH, and you don't have to.
Okay, I can add one. Honorable
For
mention. I'll add one.
for me, I put Edgar Martinez.
Okay.
312 batting
All right.
average, 2,247 career hits, 309 homers, 1261 RBIs. He had 7 All-Star appearances. He was the batting champ twice. So I always liked him. I always thought he had a really good swing, and
Yeah.
he would hit homers in bunches in my memory. He would hit two or three
Yeah.
a lot of times in a game, and it was just, I just liked watching him play. So just
The
just added
Mariners
that
should
one
have
in.
won one, man. The Mariners had so many great players.
Jay Buhner,
Yeah, they had Randy Johnson, A Rod, Griffey.
Joey
They had
Cora
Al
at second
Reynolds,
base.
was
I
good.
I
Yeah,
love
they had
Joey
some great
Cora.
players. Yeah, they had some great players. I mean, as far as DH goes, like, Edgar Martinez is arguably the best DH in the history of the game. We might be watching one, in present day in Shohei. Um,
Yeah,
like, uh, I mean, if I just threw a random guy out there, wasn't ever really a DH. I would like, if I just needed a bopper, I'd throw Jim Thome in there.
yeah, that's
He
a good.
would be my guy, like as an honorable mention, maybe like my bench guy if I had to choose a bench guy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, since you went with DH, I'll just go with my right fielder now. I'm curious if we agree. You'll notice a pattern. There's a lot of the guys that started with the same team. I'm going with Ichiro.
Oh, that's
Um,
yeah. I mean, that's I can't argue with that. He was
I mean,
if he had played more of his time too.
right?
I mean, he even without that, even coming in as late as he did, he was still. I mean
He
that
had
that arm, him and Vladimir
cannon.
Guerrero, which is another guy that was great. Um, the two best arms I've ever seen from the outfield. I mean, they could throw the ball from the wall to home plate almost on the fly and get a runner
Yeah.
out. It was insane to watch. And of course, Ichiro could hit. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, Ichiro, his swing, another one that's like immediately recognizable. Like he
yeah,
was kind of falling towards
that
first base, and he's
running
already on
start.
the way to
Yeah,
first.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he had 3,089 hits, 311 career batting average, the cannon of an arm I had written down here. And he had won an MVP. He was part of the one of the greatest baseball teams in the history of the game, the 2001
yep,
Mariners. And another team that should have won a World Series, but like they he if he had started his career in the major leagues rather than in Japan, like we'd be looking at close to 4,000 hits, if not over that.
oh yeah.
He
Well,
the
they've combined
greatest
it, and it is
hitter
yeah, yeah,
from right field that I can think of. And they did combine it, and deservingly so, because he's still playing in top notch competition. Um, he was a joy to watch. He was doing it all. I heard, like they said, if he wanted to hit 30, 40 home runs, he could have.
yeah,
But he was a slap hitter, and he was putting the ball in play and using his elite speed and getting on base and stealing bases.
yep, absolutely.
What you got?
Well, that was Tony Gwynn
Oh, jeez.
for me
Oh
because
yeah,
I think we had the
oh
miss.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh
but
yeah. We
so
did. We had the
so yeah,
mishap
we
there.
covered that. I mean, 15-time All-Star, 7-time Silver Slugger, batting champ 8 times. That's insane. And then again, the 5 Gold Gloves. His defense was a very understated part of his game, but arguably, I mean, he's just one of the top 5 contact hitters of all time, potentially. I mean, he just didn't miss. He didn't strike out. I've read things that have said, basically the strikeout leader in any given season in the modern age has more strikeouts in that particular season than he had his entire career, which was like 19 seasons or something like
Right.
that.
And Ellie De La Cruz already has more strikeouts in his career than Tony Gwynn.
Yeah, I
Think
mean,
about that.
yeah, no, the guy did not
That's
miss the ball
crazy.
when, yeah, he was.
No,
I
no.
loved watching him, and like you said, from an instructional standpoint, that is exactly the type of guy you want teaching your kid how to hit. Just
Yeah,
fundamentally very sound as a hitter and mechanically sound. So, yeah.
absolutely. So that wraps that up. I was going to do a quick little recap of what we had in our lineups. Left-handed pitcher, we both had Randy Johnson. Right-handed pitcher, Brent went with Bob Gibson. I went with Pedro. Closing pitcher, Brent went with Trevor Hoffman. I went with Mariano Rivera. I had Pudge Rodriguez as catcher. He had Mike Piazza. We both agreed on Albert Pujols. Brent brought in Calder to tell us Jackie Robinson for second base, while I had Joe Morgan. We both agreed on Michael Jack Schmidt at third base, A Rod at short for me, Ozzie Smith at short for Brent, and then Brent had Ted Williams at left, Griffey at center, Gwynn at right. I had Gwynn at left, Griffey at center, Ichiro in right. And then honorable mentions at DH, Edgar Martinez. I threw out Jim Thome.
There you go.
All
I
right.
like it.
So
I would put those teams on the field.
absolutely. So if thank you all for listening to this one. If you guys have opinions or like whose is better, I'd love to hear it.
Absolutely, I want to hear it.
So you want to round us out with the?
I will do that. Yes. So, if you would like to listen to us, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watch us on YouTube. If you're trying to follow us, you can find us at Phillies Unfiltered Podcast on Facebook, Instagram at Phillies Unfiltered, and Twitter/X at Funfiltered, PHUNPHILTERED. Thank you, everybody. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and
Yes.
we'll be back with regular episodes in a bit. But for now, just enjoy the fun.
Yes. Go baseball.
Go baseball.